Welcome back to Chumming with the Spirits, everybody. Got Parachum here, JD and OG, special guest.
Hi, my name is Juan Neal.
Welcome. We're going to first take a shot, fireball, to start things off right. So, bottoms up. That's good. Woo!
Oh. Just to show you that it was Fireball.
Yeah, it's Fireball.
Wow.
I had the bottle. Okay.
But it's not the...
Yeah, we'll be able to catch the...
Wow.
So, yeah, we wanted to kind of do a quick episode about more personal experiences tonight to showcase some of the experiences that both Juan and Dave had at the Stanley Hotel.
And
when they were
other personal experiences.
And other personal experiences.
We won't talk about the personal experiences that me and Juan had, but the
supernatural.
The supernatural. It was pretty. It was pretty supernatural, wasn't it?
Or high strangeness, as Larry would say.
That we did have.
Chum over there.
Me and Juan have been. We've been brothers since. Oh gosh, since they're over 35 years.
Yeah,
been 35 years. We met through a mutual friend doing some gaming sessions, and I immediately did not like Juan.
I thought you were only 29.
Year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a new math.
Yeah. But you know, you know how
poor math.
So just he became my brother to me. He's the godfather of my children.
That's awesome.
My kids absolutely love him. Father's Day, they go out of their way to make sure they're saying Happy Father's Day to him.
That's cool.
So that's how much they care about Juan. Juan is he's family, you know, and I'm getting emotional already. Family's everything to me, and
you drug him to a haunted location.
I did, and that's probably where I should probably quit tearing up and talk about that.
Well, that's the problem with being friends with Dave. You're going to get yourself in some situations. You just have to be prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, look what he got us into. What we're doing.
Yeah, well, true. That was organic, though.
Yeah, totally organic. No drugs involved.
So, but Juan has a past. Maybe he should share with us before we even talk about what we did together on our little excursion.
I've had a few experiences, and when I was growing up, I grew up in St. Louis, old St. Louis, and a lot of older buildings and stuff like that. And when I was younger, when you're younger, you believe in a lot of things that may or may not necessarily be true. But we had an older house that was built in like the early 1900s, and me and my brother, we shared a room. And in this house, we were on the top floor, and we had an attic. And the attic door was in our bedroom. So a lot of times we were awakened in the night by strange noises, like the doors just sitting there rattling. Like, it's like there's no wind outside, but all of a sudden the door's just rattling in the middle of the night. In fact, there was times when we wake up in the middle of the night and the door was wide open. And it's terrifying for a kid. You wake up and there's an attic door open and you heard strange noises that woke you up. Who opened the door? The door only opened from the outside. Or inside the room. So when it was open, we didn't understand why it was open and how it got open. In fact, we got to the point where we would have put furniture in front of the door.
Sounds like someone else?
Sounds like someone else.
It's a fail-safe.
I grew up in a house that was built in 1912 in a small town called Independence, Kansas. Yeah. And it had the big wooden doors with the old style locks. And in the middle of the night, which is funny, is also my room had the way up into the attic. But in the middle of the night, I'd hear the door would click.
Yes,
it'd swing open. And you could tell that there's no one out in the hallway, and then it would close. And for a while, I used to shove a chair underneath it so the door couldn't open up. So I was like, yeah, that's why we're like all laughing, because that was one of my experiences. Because you're like, as a kid, you're like, yeah, and you say, well, I remember telling my dad, and he's like, oh, it's just the house settling. I'm like,
that's what they used to do.
Yes, that was the generation of
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually put a second lock on the door, and it wasn't a key lock, but at the time,
just anything would work.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
And it would still come open at times, or be open at times, and
So did
wake
you
up in the middle of the night and the door's open in the attic? It's terrifying.
did you ever when it was open, would you ever get up and go look to see what was in there?
Now that's what I was getting at.
Okay,
Now there's a few times when I would try to investigate, but I prepared myself.
I wouldn't do it.
I prepared myself. Okay.
To this day.
To this day.
I've got to have light, so I used to keep a flashlight with me by the bed. And one night it was open, and I went in there and I looked around the flashlight. I looked one way, didn't see nothing. Looked the other way, didn't see nothing. Then I heard a noise behind me. I turned around, there was nothing there. But I definitely heard a noise. My parents told me, it's probably a squirrel or something.
They can do locks.
Yeah, I guess squirrels can get in the attic, but it doesn't sound like a squirrel.
Would your brother freak out when it happened too?
It's a team effort. He was older than me, so
it wasn't him.
He had to go investigate first.
So it wasn't him messing with you or anything?
Oh no, we would both sit there and we'd hear noise. We'll wake up and we'd both stare at the door waiting for something to happen.
That's crazy.
In fact, there was another time, with the flashlight, I went in there and right inside the door, if you were brave enough to put your hand in a dark attic, you could pull a little string switch and turn the light on. Of course, you have to be pretty brave to do that. So one time I had the flashlight and I was trying to get brave enough to pull that handle. I'm shining the flashlight in there, looking around. I don't see anything. And it's a flashlight, so it's not going to light up the whole entire attic. So I pulled the switch and it looked like bats or something was in there flying around, but there was no animals in there. It just had the appearance of bats.
Like a flickering and then disappeared.
Yeah. So I'm thinking,
like shadows in the ceiling area.
Yeah, it's like it was a bat in there flying around, but there was nothing in there. There was nothing in there.
So this kind of, sorry to interrupt.
You didn't.
This kind of reminds me of a TikTok trend that I've seen going around recently, where people are hearing what's called a mimic in their house. Have you?
Yeah, mimic, doppelganger.
Doppelganger mimic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they'll shake on the doors and like you'll hear your own voice or someone that you know.
Say your name.
And they'll see like remnants of, if they'll open it up, they'll see remnants of like shadows peeking around or on the ceiling and that kind of stuff.
Or they turn the light on in the room, there's nothing there, but when they turn the light out, you can
see a shadow.
Right, yeah.
And they kick the light on, you're like, that
and that's my purpose for the flashlight.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
You could turn that light on, but after that experience there, the light wasn't going to get it. I need a flashlight to be able to look into a dark corner and see if anything was there. In fact, it got so bad, because it happened quite often, that one time we put a dresser in front of the door. We put a Bible on top of it.
And it didn't do anything?
And, I mean, sometimes you could hear that door rattling behind the dresser with the Bible on it, but it couldn't open, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing, yeah.
But
how old were you?
I think I was less than 10 years old.
So that was pretty traumatizing, right?
Oh, yeah.
I remember to this day.
And your parents just would not engage with you on this, or just telling you, hey, it's this, it's that, or whatever.
One thing I remember is when I was telling about, I thought I saw a bat in the attic. They said it was a bird. I said if it was a bird, the bird would still be in there.
Yeah.
So they justified by saying it was a moth flying in front of the light bulb.
Causing the shadow.
Causing the shadow of the moth.
So do you think they were trying to ease your mind, or do you think they just couldn't comprehend what you were seeing? Did they think it was just your imagination? I mean, what's your thought on that?
I'm sure they thought it was my imagination, but it happened too often. But to come up with a logical reason for something will ease your mind. I mean,
and I know you guys have just met Juan, but he's a lot like you, Jeremy. He's a very logical thinker.
But evidently, you had some very similar experiences. So.
and he's very grounded. Yeah. So, I mean, he's a very grounded man. One of them, and I think that's why I'm just been so attracted to Juan my whole life, being friends and stuff like that, brothers, if you will, because he's so grounded, and I go to him for advice and stuff with life, right? And I think we both, bounce stuff off each other. So that I can see you being grounded enough to figure that out at that age.
I mean, everything has to have a reason.
Yeah.
And I've met your mom. And she, I can't see her as a person that would just neglect that. Your mom was a warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, she was. Your mom was a warrior. She was. You didn't mess with this lady. I mean, this lady was.
But to be fair, it's a lot easier to go, it's just the house settling for an explanation than the alternative, because
Is it though, Jeremy? What happens if your kids come to you and say that?
What did you just say?
Yeah, I'm just saying that 'cause this got brought up in the was it the it was the one where they moved into the mortuary. It used to be a mortuary, and they turned it into a house. The reason why they didn't move out, they didn't have the money. So.
Oh, the haunting in Connecticut?
Yes, haunting in Connecticut.
Yeah, where the
and
guy...
They literally brought it. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
thinking about it, like the house that we're in was like maybe my dad's third house he's ever owned. And we eventually moved out of it. But, I think we were there for like 8 or 10 years in that house. And me and my sister both were having paranormal activities. My dad and my stepmom never saw anything. But they were usually gone. Well, they would leave, and then that's when stuff would happen to me and my sister. But, is it easier to say, wow, it's this old house and the house is settling, versus going, well, I need to now have to find a new house? Because we're not,
But what do you, sir, how do you respond to your...
now for
how would you
me,
respond to your kids?
I would be more open to it, because I've had my own experiences.
You've experienced that.
I would definitely would research it and try to figure something out and move my kids out. But like my dad was like, it's just a house settling. Because we'd get footsteps. Like me and my sister, it was a 2-story house, and it was a wooden stair step, and you literally.
Exactly.
Well, and the one that, the door creeped me out, and I put a chair underneath it for a while. But the one that my brain didn't comprehend was I was watching TV, and this is like the middle afternoon, latchkey kid, parents work until 5 or 6. I'm home, my sister's home. And she's upstairs, I'm watching TV, and I hear her hit the steps coming down. So she's 4 years older than me. I love scaring the bejeebas out of her. So I snuck around, and as I hear her coming down, because it's like a landing down, and then there's a landing at the very bottom, and I'm crouched, and I hear her hit the landing. I jump out and go, ha! To scare her, because she normally would just scream. There was nobody there. It took my brain a little bit to go, I know I heard somebody coming down the stairs. And then that happened every so often. Like, we'd be watching TV, and you'd hear them come down the steps, and you wouldn't see it. So did you have any of that, footsteps?
I did have that. We had an older house, like I said. Our bedrooms were upstairs. The kids were upstairs. There's 2 bedrooms upstairs. And it was wooden stairs with no carpeting on them.
Yeah.
And at times, you would hear them just creaking like something's going up and down the stairs. And, with the attic pit up there.
Yeah. Well, and it's in
the first place.
That was because my dad kept on
So
saying,
you guys lived in the same house, just didn't know it. So it was you two doing it.
Yeah. That's just parallel time. No, St. Louis, though.
Different dimensions, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Because St. Louis, the history in St. Louis, there is a ton of history that whole city and their surrounding areas. You got Lewis and Clark, and
absolutely.
It's some of the earliest settlers. So the houses that are there, even if they're not super old, there's still buildings in other areas.
Yes, I have another friend of mine that still lives there, and we talk about that all the time. He said, well, Kansas City is such a gorgeous city, and it has this and all the fountains. I said, but St. Louis is old St. Louis. The buildings are older. They're all brick, and the architecture is amazing, and some of these trees are hundreds of years old. So, you really can't pass it.
Give her a cookie.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to really
Give the diabetic a cookie. Well, hi, guys. We just got interrupted by my beautiful, lovely wife that actually makes us snacks all the time. And we did Buffalo Wild Wings tonight. And someone didn't tell someone about the hot and spicy wings, which I'm still paying the price.
I'm sorry.
What the fuck is that?
Uh-oh.
That's a spider that you put down there.
Okay. Damn it. I was hoping to scare you.
Spiders don't scare me.
Yeah, because St. Louis is older than Kansas City. And Kansas City is fairly old. And the town I was in was Independence, Kansas. It's 3 hours south of Kansas City in the southeast corner of Kansas. It was an oil boom town in the early 1900s. And like I said, the house I lived in was a National Registered house built in 1912. And
this is the house you were talking about.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I missed out on that.
So, but yeah, it's their early 1900s.
Yeah, they said the gateway to the West. It was the last civilized place before the West.
Yep.
No, I do. I know you're getting ready to ask a question, but I want to finish my questions.
Okay.
So, and the same questions to you. Larry, you get lucky enough and find a girl that'll have you, and you're not going to have kids, so she already has her own kids. So I'm just trying to make the story complete.
Wow, this just got real.
Well, yeah. So Cool. Anyway, my man. So the kids come to you. Being the investigator you are, now I'm being serious. Being the investigator that you are, and being that the parachum that you are, and I love you. You know I love you. These kids come to you and say, hey, man, this is going on. Like what he went through. Are you going to say, oh, it's just a house selling, and to ease their mind, and then you investigate, or what do you do?
Rub some dirt on it and get over it.
Okay.
You already plausible deniability his own ghost experiences in his apartment.
Yeah. You do deny everything.
Maybe tell him to start praying.
Yeah.
Seriously, being the adult, and you're an educated man, you're a scientist, if you will. What do you do?
He buys a deal of sage and gives it to him.
Like the sage you brought me?
Yeah.
That looks like a bunch of pepper bullshit.
No, I'll be honest. If they were my kids, or
even if they weren't, you're taking care of them.
Yeah, that's what I meant by my kids.
Okay, sure. Okay, my bad.
I would ease their mind and tell them, there's nothing happening. Don't worry about it, because they're kids. You don't want to traumatize a kid. That's just fucked up.
It's mean,
right? Yeah, it's mean. But yeah, I would investigate when they weren't there. Hell yeah.
What about you? Tables will turn.
Well, I wouldn't totally deny them what they're saying.
No, yeah.
Did you feel like you were denied?
No, I didn't feel like I was denied. I probably would have treated more like my parents did, trying to come up with a logical, rational reason.
Gaslight them.
Because
yes, you gaslight the kids and try to figure.
Is it gaslighting? Because I mean, you don't really know what they saw and how they really experienced it, and they could have misinterpreted it.
True.
And you're trying to explain to them, well, you probably misinterpreted it.
The only reason why I say it's gaslighting, because you've encountered something like that, and if you tell them it's nothing, that's gaslighting.
Well, that's what I'm getting.
Now, because you're trying to make them. You're still on the fence of plausible deniability.
Well, not really deniability.
Well, no, you're saying that there's other options. It could be the AC kicking on with the air draft, or if you have a like we had a massive attic fan that could suck the curtains up, when it turned on. So so there's things that it could create enough air movement that it could move some stuff. If the door wasn't shut all the way, it could swing a door shut. So I mean, there's plausible deniability of some of the stuff. But would you tell them, oh, it's probably something else, and then investigate? Now with the knowledge you have now?
Me myself, I'm definitely going to investigate it and look into it myself. But could you imagine telling your child, a young child under 10 years old, say, yeah, that was probably a ghost.
Go back to sleep.
So, don't worry about it, because they only take kids that are what? I mean, you're not
act up and being naughty.
Acknowledge that this is true. I mean, their brains haven't developed enough to look at it in a rational way and say, okay,
yeah,
how am I protected from this? You gave them no option to be protected from it. You just said that. Yes, it's true.
So you would ease their mind. So do you think that's what happened to you? You think they were easing your mind?
I think they were easing my mind.
So that brings up. Sorry, I want to get this question
out. No, this is great.
Strangest topic.
This is great. No, please do.
So it brings into mind that either or say that the parents have experienced something, or most commonly the parents haven't experienced anything, and they're trying to ease their children's mind with plausible explanations. Do you think it's possible that there is no such thing as a residual haunting, and that these things know for a fact that we can interact and mess with the children because they don't have any control on whether or not this family leaves the house?
So
wow, that's
an interesting take. But I go back to the movie The Haunting with Kidman, where they're the twist in that movie.
Oh, The Others.
Oh, The Others. That's it.
Where she's the ghost.
I think it comes down to, it's not that they're picking the kids. I think when a kid's that young and hasn't been weathered by age, they pick things. Yeah, they pick things up that, because they don't know between a tooth fairy and Santa Claus, so they okay, if I saw a door closing here, it's just the wind. They've never experienced that, so I think they pick things up, and that's why they're more susceptible to seeing that stuff.
I agree.
And compared to adults that like they'll walk by, so like.
Because I'm always rationalizing.
Yes. It's like one of the famous things like people always rationalize is losing keys. Like my grandmother used to talk about house spirits, and like if you lost something and you put it somewhere, you be nice and you just ask real nicely, I really need my keys.
Can you bring them back? Yeah.
Can I please have them back? And you go look again, and there they are, and you're like,
I just looked at it.
So it brings.
I've been down that road too many times.
So a further on that question that I asked, if the spirit or entity is intelligent and they know that the adult has the financial capability to move and relocate their families and get out of the situation that they're in from the spirit or entity, do you think that they would present themselves to the adults as well?
My theory on it is they present to the kids because the kids notice them.
They're more open to it.
They're more open. So, like, they maybe, I guarantee if my dad heard somebody coming down the steps, walked out there and looked and no one was coming down the steps, he would just automatically go, oh, that's just the house settling. That was kind of odd, and walk away. Compared to, I'm trembling going, there's no one on the steps. I wonder if, you get into the Monster Inc., is there enough energy given off that they notice that, so they and maybe they're trying to tell you something, like, because you give a reaction that causes more. It's no different than like why they tell you not to investigate your own house. Like you start setting EVPs up and you maybe get one every once in a blue moon, then the more you do it, the more EVPs you get. And I think it's because you are actively, they're seeing a response.
Well, so that brings up a good topic, if you don't mind me cutting in real quick.
Fine.
That a lot of people that so
Not a choice.
You don't have a choice.
Fireball.
So people
when they got the hang of this,
when they go on investigations, they usually go to a location they've never been to before, and they stay maybe 6 hours overnight. Right?
Yeah.
They don't ever go back. If they do, they're usually on a team and all that other kind of stuff. But I've heard instances where teams get into a location, or people in their own homes get into the situation where the more they investigate and the more frequent they are at that location, the more activity happens.
Oh, of course.
And
that.
Well, yeah, because the entity or spirits have become more comfortable with that intelligent human being that they're interacting with.
And that's a great way to look at it as well. I mean, that's definitely plausible.
Yes, I think that you're interacting more. They notice it. You notice it. It'd be like if an ant started saying your name.
But it's
you're
also
going to pay attention to the ant. I mean, if it could say your name.
Yeah, and it also isn't necessarily always leading towards the road of a positive interaction building up and being more common. I mean, you do have situations where things get worse and worse and worse.
Yes, but I think it also comes down to, I mean, if theories are correct, and it is somebody that's passed, and that's somebody's there because they love that house. One of the biggest things is people going into an older house and start ripping it up to remodel it, and they have massive amount of activity because the people there, like, you're screwing
not happy
up
with what you're doing.
But if you're, it's no different. I mean, it sounds weird, but it's like having a roommate. As long as you show equal respect, most people. I mean, like, there's some very famous houses up in Atchison that there's some major events happened with one family. They move out and they've had multiple tenants afterwards, nothing. But other people go in and investigate, and then they have massive. So I think some of it's a give and take of it, like, how do you treat the environment? That's why a lot of people don't like people antagonizing things, because you're not staying there.
That brings up an interesting point. So, say there are spirits. So, are these spirits intelligent? Are they still thinking? Are they locked in the past? Are they locked in the loop of what used to be?
That's a great question. Yeah. What do you think?
What's your opinion on that?
I can't say that I really have an opinion, but you think if they lived at one time, they would be intelligent, and that's why maybe they speak to kids, because they know the kids wouldn't really say anything, and if they did, it wouldn't be justified. So maybe that's why they'll communicate with kids more freely as opposed to adults, which are going to be in denial and probably take a hostile stance to try to protect themselves and the spirit tries to protect itself.
Yeah.
But that's only if it's intelligent. But what if when they died, they got locked in a loop?
So that loop is
It's a
generally
residual.
is generally considered a residual haunting, where like they're always walking down the hallway and they turn left and it's a wall. Well, that used to be a door, and I there's a lot of theories out there. I kind of believe in the same thing, that like the energy gets absorbed in an area, and if you hit the right temperature, the right time of day, everything just hits the right frequency, it replays it like a recording.
It's a recorder, right?
Yeah,
It plays over and over.
It takes you have to be in the right. Everything has got to line up perfectly, and then it just replays that event. Music playing from a piano that's sitting there.
Smells of cigars.
But when you start getting into other, that's like the white lady walking up the stairs. They don't interact. They don't, like, if you're there, they just walk by you like nothing. There's other ones that it's like a person that was alive looking at you, and you look at them, they look at you, and they're just as startled. There's a theory on that maybe that's a time slip,
Which is what I
or a
heavily
portal.
believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like, a cowboy from the 1800s hits the right time as you're walking in the same place, and again, atmosphere, everything, and for a brief second, you get to see into the past. They don't know they're looking in the future. You're both kind of through that veil, and there's a minor interaction, then disappears.
Somewhat like a deja vu moment. But
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why, because obviously I believe in heaven and hell. I think when you die, you're going up or you're going down. I don't believe in purgatory, because I know purgatory is not really mentioned in the Bible. That's how the king and the priest back in the Catholic priest back in the day kept control of the people.
Well, and they funded
if
the
you
last
give me
rites.
this much, or this, your so and so won't be in purgatory for very long. We'll get them out of it. And that's, I don't believe it's never mentioned. So, but that's what I really believe of time. I call it timelines crossing each other, or I'm seeing something from the past, or something seeing me.
And the next one is active. Like it's an intelligent. Well, there's even another one. So.
Possession.
Well, so you have
I call that a
we're
demon.
human that have passed, and they may be 1,000 years old, 100 years old, or like we don't have any modern. I've never heard of a modern person from the 80s, haunting a place, but it's going to happen eventually. Mostly it's Victorian. Then you have things that that don't seem to have been human, and like Native Americans and all that.
Well, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, they've been around forever. Like forest spirits and stuff like that, and then you get malevolent stuff that depends on how you take it. But what's kind of shocked me over the years of doing this, like we were talking about Larry's experience. One of the things that I've always ran into was like,
Which one?
The one in the rectory
With the sailor?
Yeah, well, generally religion's off limits. Like they don't say anything. Like it usually will go dead. Like there's like unspoken rules that a ghost can communicate.
You just don't go there, right?
Yeah, like if you start bringing that up, they usually just.
Did you guys see that?
No, I just saw you, like almost Peter.
I saw a white shadow go across between the chair and the couch.
We have film cameras.
Yeah, we have a
over
camera over there. Double check.
We get it. Go ahead. Sorry.
But so, I think there's a whole bunch of different variations depending on what you're running into. Like I've had conversations with a REM pod where you ask it questions and it lights up yes, no. Like you're having just like you and me talking. Like as long as you keep it simple enough that they can do a yes, no. I hate the spirit box is neat.
No, it's not.
But it's so loud and annoying. But when you get voices coming across that are especially across multiple channels and they're answering you, we don't know the rules that they have to follow. I don't even know if they know the rules, and we could still be dealing with a time slip that it's somebody. Well, like there's literally movies about that where they got the ham radio and the kid's talking to his dad back in 19 frequency.
Absolutely.
The frequencies just line up.
Right.
So what you're saying, it kind of sounds like you're saying that you feel that there's a difference between a spirit, a ghost, some type of entity, some type of malevolent spirit, or maybe even demons. I mean, there's different grades.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But they all look the same to us.
Oh, it's like
They can.
Oh, well, like my wife can look at like 18 different shades of red. I see
Red.
3 varying colors of red, but she's like, "Oh no, that's rose. That's
Yeah.
crimson." And I'm like, I don't see that. But in the ghost, when you talk about spirits, I think it is a spectrum. Like, I mean, you get like poltergeists is under a question of whether or not they're actually manifested by the people there.
So you're saying it's like autism?
Yeah, but we're all spectrumed.
Yeah,
We're all-
no,
we're on
I'm
the
not trying to be
scale.
rude or
No,
anything.
I think we're finding out more and more things are more of a spectrum. You get into, well, we always called it different shades of gray or whatever, but I think there's things that are just like us here, and maybe this replays in 100 and some years from now, the same conversation,
So,
and that
Well-
causes somebody to have deja vu.
yeah, we'll go ahead and I have a personal experience I wanted to share about residual haunting that I have video evidence of. David.
Because that's all I always ask. If you don't have evidence, it's a bullshit story.
It is.
Well,
That's my thing.
And that's one of the nice things
This
about-
is a good time to take a break because I also want to talk about Juan and what I feel like that he has a sixth sense
Okay.
as well because of some of the situations he's put me in.
I don't think he's covered everything as a kid.
No,
right? There's more
but I want to
stuff.
get back to that. But I would like to have a bio break
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm about to explode.
We will be right back,
back.
folks. Might even be a separate episode, but stay tuned.